So today I realized, let me full screen. Don't want to start doing that again. I realized an absolutely glaring omission from our list of men we would trust to watch our drinks that we did like 1 or 2 episodes ago.
Who?
Keanu Reeves.
Oh.
I would trust that man with my life.
Oh my goodness. You know,
How
I
did we forget
agree.
our boy?
We just left him
We left him high and
stranded.
dry.
Yes. Huh.
Incredibly rude of us. Um,
You
I'm like,
definitely thought of that, like, in the middle of the night.
mm-hmm, like laying there about to fall asleep, eyes like snap open,
Uh-huh.
like, hold on, Keanu Reeves. Yeah. I went to Barnes and Noble today. Actually, like within the past 2 hours, I went to Barnes and Noble. Mostly to buy the second book in the Dune saga. So just becoming more insufferable by the minute. But while I was there, I went to the Barnes and Noble cafe and I got a large chai latte. So I am very
Ooh.
caffeinated and just ready to bring the vibes tonight.
Yes, that's funny you mentioned that. I almost went to Barnes& and Noble's 2 hours ago as well, but I didn't end up there. I didn't make it, but I really wanted to go in. I was with my sister and she didn't want to go, so we
What did you
didn't.
want to buy in Barnes and Noble?
I just like to browse. Like
Valid. I love just
sometimes
being in bookstores.
me too. Like I don't normally buy things, but yeah, I just like being surrounded.
By
Pretend I'm
books.
in
It's a good feeling.
academia.
I get that. I really do. I do love me some books. But yeah.
Books and stuffs.
Although I gotta say, I'm like Barnes and Noble is like kind of becoming like, I mean, like it's a chain bookstore. It's whatever. But like I've noticed that they're like they used to have like a little section of like stuff like for like games like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, but it's like
Hmm.
slowly expanding, and now they have like this big section of like Funko Pops. I'm like, no, give me more books.
No,
Even though I
true.
am a person who like collects Funko Pops and stuff, like gestures to shelf of Funkos. But that's just like a
No,
change I've noticed over the
it's
years.
like quarter of the store is dedicated to things that aren't books. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, and not just like other media. It's like just toys and like stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
A lot of it is um, like stationery and all that stuff. So I get
Oh, I am
that
a
and
sucker for
cards.
like a nice notebook or like just a really good ass pen.
Uh-huh.
It's real nice.
Like gel pens or ballpoint pens.
I like a good ballpoint pen,
Me too. I feel like
especially
they're
like the.
everyone says gel, but I'm like, mm-mm.
I mean, like I love me a sparkly gel pen, but like like here I think I might actually have one.
Ballpoint are like reliable.
It's not in here, but it's like the ballpoint pens that have like the sparkly gel ink in
Mm-hmm.
them. Like, you know what I
I've seen
mean? I
those.
feel like
Yes,
that is
I've
like the peak of just pen technology.
pen technology.
Yeah, I am very particular about my writing implements. Like, I hate when like you have like one of the pens that I use for like I actually write things down in a planner because it helps me
Mm-hmm.
remember like the physical act of writing something down.
Yeah.
So I'm like a physical planner person, and and usually when you buy a planner, like the paper's a little like it's a little thicker, it's a little nicer than just like notebook paper.
Mm-hmm.
So with the pens that I always use for my planners, they're like a little like they almost are kind of like drawing pens, like ones that people would use to outline a sketch or something.
Like sketching. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was gonna say. Or uh what's it called when people like organize their planner in such a way like really go at it? Is there a
Bullet
name for
journaling?
that? Yes.
Yeah, I could but like so it has like thick like darker ink.
Mm-hmm.
And it annoys me when, like, I'm writing on just, like, normal paper, and it's not, like, strong enough to withstand that. And then you, like, flip the page, and you can see all your notes having bled through from the other side. Oh, it drives me nuts. But yeah.
I hate that. And I like using both sides of the piece of paper, so it...
If you're out here using just one side of the piece of paper... What? Like, the only reason you would do that, or at least the only reason I could think of that a person would do that, is be like, oh, I'm gonna study these later and take kind of, like, notes on my notes to, like, review for something. That's okay. But, like...
I don't know.
Just leaving the other side of the page blank for, like, no reason. What?
That bothers me.
Yeah.
Not just from a environmental standpoint. It just bothers me. Like, why is this? Why are you not using it?
Yeah. Like, what do you know? What do you know that I don't know? Anyway, besides not going into Barnes and Noble, anything else happened to you today?
I didn't fall in the subway this week, so
Woo-hoo!
that's progress.
We do love to hear it.
Yes, I was grounded on my own 2 feet. My head was still in the clouds, so whatever.
That's
Half of
fine.
me was on the ground.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. It's been some nice weather. It's also the vibes around here. Now.
Yeah, it has been absolutely lovely here the past couple days, which has been really nice, and I'm, like, ever so slightly starting to enjoy being an unemployed bastard, because I just, like, sit out on the deck all day and read, which is really nice.
That sounds lovely.
But, you know, there is still the crushing pressure of being unemployed, so a little give and take.
Yeah.
Anyway, how about we jump in for this episode and start off? Who are some characters that you would die for?
I don't know. They'd have to be a pretty spectacular character.
Oh wow, I have a lengthy list of characters that I would die for. And I don't know what that says about me as a person.
Why don't you start then? Because listen, I have a short list of, like, real people I would die for. Like, it's very short.
I'm not gonna lie to you, the list of characters I would die for is significantly longer than the list of real people I would die for.
What characters you got?
Okay, but, like, number one all-time character I would, like, kill and / or die for, no questions asked, Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks. I love him so much. I'm kind of afraid that I will never feel this way about a human person.
Oh my god.
And I hope when we start watching this show together, you will understand a little. Like, just a little.
I hope so. That'd let me gain a deeper perspective into...
Oh, quick aside, you and I are gonna have to get cracking on those streams because they're taking Twin Peaks off of Netflix at the end of June.
Oh, I guess all of June we're
streaming, baby.
We're streaming. Wow.
More actual
maybe we should start that in
to come about that soon.
Maybe that should be started in May. Wow, we're literally planning as we're recording. We're multitasking.
I didn't think our planning game could get any worse.
We're literally sitting down with everyone and talking this out.
What's that episode of like, there's the SpongeBob gift. Write that down! Write that down!
Write that down! Write that down! Oh, what were they even doing? And then Patrick's just, like, drawing shit.
It's the episode where they have the bubble stand, and then Squidward's doing, like, technique, and making fun of them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, no, or was it the episode with the sea bear?
No, you're right. It was Sea Bear. It was Sea
Bear. And he's doing
Patrick's
all the things
just, like, not
he shouldn't do to summon a sea bear. And he summons a sea bear.
Isn't that while Squidward's being, like, beaten up
Yeah.
by the sea bear.
The sound of a sea bear attack will summon a sea rhinoceros.
Oh man, that was a
God,
good
I love
one.
SpongeBob. I feel like that's another thing we bring up on here that, like, way more often than is healthy.
Food and SpongeBob.
Food and SpongeBob. But really, what else do you need? Like, if you're not satisfied with those two things alone, what's going on, man? Anyway.
We said, sorry, we said food and SpongeBob, and now I'm just thinking, remember those SpongeBob ice cream pops with the gumball eyes?
Yes.
I'd hunt the ice cream man down for those.
Okay, that's like a person. Like, okay, we're taking a tangent because I have some things to say. That is a personality test in and of itself. What was your go-to order? Like, what would you always get from the ice cream truck as a child?
Well, although that is good, that doesn't contain chocolate, and that's a necessity for me. So it would be the cone with the nuts on top and the chocolate bottom.
Oh,
Like I love the cones with the chocolate on the bottom.
the ice cream trucks that came around where I lived as a
Drumsticks?
kid, they called it like a king cone or something.
Oh, I don't know the names. I just pointed to the picture like that one.
Valid. My go-to as a child was God, they called it like a screwball, and it was like a cone of like cherry Italian ice, and it had a gumball at the bottom. And like you eat it with like, you know those little wooden spoon sticks they give you for like
you can't
ice
get
cream?
the taste out of your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, love those boys. And honestly, sometimes when I'm feeling nostalgic and like, because ice cream in summer comes to around our neighborhood like once or twice a week, so like every now and again I'll be like, you know what,
Wait,
I'm gonna get
really?
screwball.
That only once or twice a week? Mr. Softy's coming up my block every friggin' day.
God, I wish that were me. I feel like he came around
you know,
more often when I was a kid, but maybe that's just because I have like strong memories of it and I'm just like meshing all of my childhood summers together.
I love when like I don't know if this happens to you, but there are two ice cream trucks in your area. Has that happened? And they both have different songs, and like I feel like it's so chaotic. Oh, that
No, that
happens
hasn't happened
quite often around here.
Although I gotta say, when my sister and I were little kids, my sister is like 2.5 years younger than I am, so she she would be at that age where like, you know, you just act on impulse for absolutely everything because you're a small child. So whenever she heard the ice cream man, she would scream, "Ice cream!" and just run out of the house to flag him down. Like, not asking our parents, would just leave me to, like, get the money.
You know, that reminds me of a time when I was young, like, I don't even know how old I was, but I really just wanted to say hi to the ice cream man, so I start waving frantically, and he stops. And that was the time I accidentally stopped the ice cream man. So I had to go get my mom.
Wholesome.
And like, I accidentally stopped him. Can I have money? She was annoyed.
Oops.
But I got my ice cream.
Or just like, peak summer memory is when you would be like swimming in like your friend's pool and you would hear the ice cream man. So everyone would like run out and stand on that patch of grass by the sidewalk so you wouldn't be burning your feet on the hot blacktop and you're all like wrapped in your towels. And then you're like, you know, whatever parents were there would get you all ice cream. And then you sit in a little circle in the grass and eat it. Ugh. Good times.
Good times.
Good memories. Anyway, do you have any characters you'd die for?
Oh, wow. Who did you say again? I'm stuck in like ice cream.
Special Agent Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay.
Love of my life. I literally sent you that like opening heart gif that was just like Agent Cooper, my beloved. The unending Twin Peaks brain rot.
You know, I will say, okay. I'm just thinking, like, I was very into, like, fictional fictional world slash like characters. I'd say when like Tumblr
Oh, same.
era was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So as was everyone, but back this isn't really the case now, but back then, as many of us, I was a big Doctor Who fan. I would only die for the 10th Doctor. And also I loved Rose.
You and
So I
I
would
are
die
gonna
for
have to
both of
have a
them.
conversation about Doctor Who because I think I might have
Why?
just stumbled upon like some actual like common fandom ground for us. I think there's a lot to
Oh,
unpack there, and I do agree
I
with you.
mean, oh, they were my favorites out of like all. I haven't watched the older ones, I will say. So
I
I
haven't
don't
really watched
know.
the older ones either. I've watched a couple like the
Okay.
fourth Doctor episodes just like for funsies, because like he's like super
hmm
iconic, and like
Yeah.
yeah, they're a bit corny. The
He's the
special
one with
effects
the
aren't great. It's
scarf,
old.
right?
Yeah,
Is he the one with the scarf? Okay, yeah.
but yeah, like it's pretty
um,
iconic, and like they're fun. Like
yeah.
I'm here for it. But I'm
No, like
mostly
10th
watched
Doctor, I
starting with Christopher Eccleston.
no, so yeah, I guess the character the Doctor, but it he is played by David Tennant.
So like the
But
10th Doctor specifically.
yes,
I,
like
I do
I
feel that.
loved it. Like I got the same glasses as him. I would always wear Converse because that's what he would wear.
You and
It was
I would have been
sad.
very good friends in high school.
uh, yeah.
Not bad. I love to hear it, honestly. Yeah, I feel like I have such a lengthy list. It's kind of embarrassing. And a lot of them are podcast characters. So, like, getting real hyper specific. But, like, even within just, like, one podcast, I can think of maybe, like, five. Like, Jonathan Sims would die for him. Martin Blackwood would die for him. Michael Shelley would die for that sweet, sweet boy who didn't deserve what happened to him.
I respect that.
Yeah, I think this is revealing a lot about me as just me as a person and the way I attach myself to fictional entities. But let's not read too deep into that right now. I do relate to the 10th Doctor one though. Like especially like
especially
14
back
to
then. Like now,
16-year-old me.
oh yeah.
Oh
Like
my
now,
god.
now, I don't think that'd be the case. I'd be truly sad
I gotta
if
say,
he
I do still
perished,
like
but
when I go back and watch like 10th Doctor episodes, like it still hits.
hmm
It really truly
I
does
do
still hit.
that is one show that I've been meaning to like rewatch, or at least the episodes I loved like a few years back and would constantly watch. Like it's been a minute, so I might have to just sit down and rewatch those.
I haven't seen the most recent season, but
I
other than
haven't
that, I'm
either.
caught up.
I have not.
Yeah.
So,
At the risk of like having this entire episode turn into Doctor Who conversation,
yeah,
we can like
maybe we should move on.
we can move on, but we can also like save some of this for future because
I'm
there are
sure
discussions
we'll
to be had
revisit.
here. Anyway, here's one. I was just scrolling through Reddit on my phone because I like to be plugged into the source of the memes,
Mm-hmm.
and I came across this image, which I'll be dragging over to my screen right now, so all of you, people who are watching this on YouTube can see, and I will also describe it, because if you're listening just to the audio, you can't see this. But here's what we've got. And I'm realizing, Maddie, that you can't see this.
I cannot, so you're gonna have to describe it to me as well.
Okay, so there is, like, it's a picture of, like, a park. And there's, like, those, like, electrical boxes that you see just, like, outside for, like, in public places. Maybe it's for, like, the street lamps or something, or, like, street signs, or, like, the telephone lights, or, like, telephone poles. And there is a sprinkler, like a lawn sprinkler, that has been installed, and the sprinkler is shooting a jet of water directly at this electrical box.
Okay.
Which of these two items came first? Like, which was installed first?
Okay. I'm sorry, there's a sprinkler shooting something at, like, an electrical box.
Yeah, shooting a jet of water at an electrical box.
Are those the only two things going on, or was there a third?
Those are the relevant data points of this image. And I just want to know, like, here's the thing. Like, there's a good chance, like, it's, like, photoshopped or whatever. But if it's not, which of these two objects was installed first?
You know, without seeing this, but just based on what you're describing, I'm going to say the sprinklers, because I think the box may have been installed during the winter months when sprinklers weren't in use, and they may have forgot, oh yeah, there are sprinklers here. This won't work. So, sprinklers there first, they installed it, and then spring rolled around, and they're like, oopsie.
Oh, the link to this image is in the questions document for this week. That is accessible to you. But, my thing is, like, I can see it being done either way. Like, I can see whatever company, like, you know, they install the box without really thinking about it, and they don't notice. See?
I'm sorry, this is a funny picture. We'll be sure to...
Yeah, we'll link it in the description.
In the comments.
But I can see it happening both ways. Like, I can see, especially, like, in a situation where you're like, let me just, like, get in and out, install this thing real quick, do my job, not really thinking about it, kind of, like, on autopilot. I can see both situations. I can see somebody installing the electrical box, not seeing the sprinkler, and then somebody turns it on and is like, oh, shit. Or I can see the electrical box being there and someone has to install the sprinkler, and they're either, like, not thinking about it, or they're like, you know what, not my job, like, you know?
Yeah, or maybe, like, you know how you can kind of turn sprinklers in a way to, like,
yeah,
be in other directions? Like, maybe that's not the normal direction it's in.
You make some points.
But I would like to stick with my original theory about the seasonal installment, because I think it's funnier.
Yeah, okay, I buy that. But yeah, I saw this, and I'm just like, oh, who...
I'm just imagining, like, a world where it was finally installed, like, the first day of spring, and they just finished, and I imagine it being a lot of work, and then they're wiping their foreheads after a hard day's work, and then the sprinklers come on, and
everything shorts out. I can see that being used in, like, a sitcom. As, like, a miscommunication type, like, plot line. They're like, oh, we have to work so hard to get this new, like, fancy, like, electrical, like, sign for, like, the park installed, and it has all these, like, you know, it shows you the weather for the day, and it shows you all these things and, like, events that might be going on in the park. There's, like, a big fundraising campaign, and then at the same time, there's people going around repairing the sprinklers, and they finally get their sign, and there's a big ceremony, and like, Parks and Rec almost, there's a big ceremony, and they turn it on, and then the sprinklers trip, and just everything shorts out, and maybe something catches on fire.
That is definitely... could be a Parks and Rec episode.
Like, this very image, and I don't even, like, I have never religiously watched Parks and Rec, like, I've seen episodes and my friends have had it on, but, like, this very
I would die
image...
for Ron Swanson. I'm sorry, I would die for that man.
There we
Ron
go.
Swanson.
But, like, this very image radiates Parks and Rec energy. And when I saw that, I was like, I have to save this. This will come in quite handy.
This will be useful.
Right? I'm like, whenever I see memes that, like, pose any kind of question, I'm just like, let me just slide on in. Anyway. We got anything else to say about that? Just unfortunate coincidence of events, or...
That is true comedy.
Yeah.
That's all I'll have to say.
That really is.
Who said comedy was dead?
Okay. Do crabs think that fish can fly?
Hmm. Can crabs swim, or do they just walk?
I
They
think
just
their
walk,
whole
right?
thing is that they just be scuttling along the bottom.
Can't they float? Can they float?
I mean, I don't know. Google? Can crabs swim? Can crabs swim?
Oh, some can.
Oh.
Some pass through water. What does that mean? Do they just float? Oh, crabs have gills? Well, duh.
Well, yeah.
Listen, I don't know how. I think fish and gills, but it makes sense for them to also have gills.
I found out that, you know how they draw in SpongeBob, they draw scallops as birds and have them, like...
Mm-hmm.
They actually move like that through the water for real. They, like, open and close in order to swim.
Really?
And I saw a video of it, and I'm like, this seems fake. But it's not, and that kind of blew my mind. It's another thing I'll link in the description.
That's considered flying in the SpongeBob world, so I guess in that case swimming is flying.
So then maybe crabs do think, like, crabs that can't, like, swim, that just are, like, bottom feeders, maybe they do think fish can fly.
You know what? I'm gonna say yes. They probably do think that is flying. To them, from their perspective, that is flying.
Once, when I was a kid, we went to Cape Cod, and we were in one of the bay beaches where you get, like, the tide pools with the little hermit crabs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched a hermit crab, like a little teeny tiny hermit crab that could just, like, sit on the tip of my finger. I watched it go into a new shell. They're really weird looking when they're naked.
That's awesome.
They just have these weird, like, misshapen little bodies.
Ugh.
Strange looking boys. But yeah, and whenever we were, like, at the bay beaches, we would always, like, dig a hole in the sand and fill it with water and make, like, a big, like, pool and, like, go collect hermit crabs and put them in there, and then, like, when the tide came back in, it would just, like, get swept away with the rest of the water.
It's cool.
It was a fun time.
I'm just having memories of I'd go to the beach and one of my activities for the day was to dig up sand crabs.
Nice.
And, like, collect them.
Good times. I love going to the beach.
Me too. I get to go a lot.
God, I wish that were me.
The perks of living on an island.
I can imagine.
It's
What?
okay. All we have are Long Island is just beaches and shopping malls and Republicans.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. A lot of nostalgia in this episode.
That is what it is. That's a fact.
Yeah, that's fair. A lot of reminiscing this week.
I know.
A lot of nostalgia.
A nostalgic episode.
I feel like summer is an inherently nostalgic
Yeah,
time of
because
year.
like I feel like that on average is when the vibes be best. Um, no, it's just like people have good memories in the summer, many are out of work, by choice, and out of school. They're able to spend time with like friends and family, and and great weather. So, yeah, I'd be nostalgic for that.
Although I gotta say, like, weather-wise, summer isn't my favorite. Like, I like the nice weather,
No.
but, like, I also
Oh,
don't like being sticky.
yeah.
So, give and take. Anyway. Um, okay, here's one. So what's your movie that you refer to as a cinematic masterpiece, even though it's not like Oscar worthy or it wasn't like directed by like an auteur?
Uh, mm, hmm.
Like I guess like a favorite like popcorn movie.
Like, can it be very well known
Oh
or?
yeah, this doesn't have to be like a
Oh, okay.
cult
I'm,
secret
I'm
or
like trying
anything.
to think of obscure movies.
Oh no, I have one in mind. It is not at all obscure.
What's yours?
The Mummy,
The
1999.
Mummy.
Today,
What?
I literally
Like,
bought a bumper sticker that says, "Honk if you'd rather be watching 1999 cinematic masterpiece The Mummy starring Brandon Fraser and Rachel Weisz." And I am going to put that on my car and drive around with that on the back of my Nissan Sentra.
what is your reasoning for it being a cinematic masterpiece in your mind?
Just name one thing about that movie that does not slap. Like, the casting choices could not have been more perfect. You have Brandon Fraser at his just like the height of his like 90s glory. You've got baby Rachel Weisz looking fine as hell. And
Hmm.
like the plot is so much like I love like adventure movies. Like that there I have such a
Hmm.
soft spot for them where it's just like, yeah, let's just go like explore and blow things up and have all these like, crazy fun adventures and, hack our way through the jungle and like one of my favorite movies and when I was a kid and still like the Indiana Jones movies except for the last one. The last one fucking sucks. But like the original Indiana Jones trilogy, oh my god, so much fun. Love them so much. But
Nice.
yeah, The Mummy
Nice.
is this is my pinned tweet on my Twitter page. Um The Mummy is better than anything Woody Allen has ever put to film. And
I
no, I will
agree.
not explain. So yeah, like what's your movie like that?
So, okay, one of my all-time favorite movies is and has been for like as long as I can remember is Rocky. And I just think it is the perfect movie because,
Nice.
okay, inspirational. I like that at the time, it was 1976. I think Taxi Driver got the Oscar that year. So I
I'm
don't
pretty
think,
sure it did.
I'm pretty sure. But I like that at the time. There's a lot of underdog actors and actresses, which also reflected upon the movie being an underdog story. We love that. And I highly respect the lack of romantic scenes because I don't like when it's like super fixated on that. Like, yes, there's
Okay,
some moments
that's
here and
it's so funny you
but
say
it
that
makes
because one of the reasons I love The Mummy is that like the romance between the two characters, it's so believable. Like they don't have to shoehorn it in whatsoever. It's just a himbo and a hot librarian. Beautiful. But yes, please continue.
No, I guess those are my thoughts. I love a good underdog movie, and I watch it whenever I need to feel inspiration about anything. Except I'll go through, I'll watch like, all the movies, except I always skip the third movie and the sixth.
What's the third movie?
Not good. That's what it is. The third, he's like an asshole in that. And then, no, the fifth, I'm sorry, not the sixth. The fifth, horrible. The worst one. So I always skip that.
Entirely fair. I think you'll agree with me on this one.
Talk.
Clue is a cinematic masterpiece.
Yes! Wait, I was gonna mention that, but I'm like, no, I know we've mentioned it in the past, so I wasn't gonna bring it up again, but no, I was gonna say that.
Adventure of a movie.
One of my friends, when I was in like 5th grade, like, she got me that as like, I think a present or something, like maybe, or we watched that at sleepover, but I'm like, this is genius!
Yeah, I just, like, it used to be on Netflix, and I just randomly picked it one day, and I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
No, that was like one of my favorite movies growing up. I would like sit down and watch Clue like once a month.
That is such a great movie.
And that is kind of an obscure movie.
To a degree, yeah. Like, again, we said this when we both, like, realized that we had both seen this movie. Like, everyone on the internet knows it, but it's so rare to find someone who's actually seen that movie, like, in real life.
I've watched that, like, unironically many times. Like, not just because...
Who was watching it ironically? That movie is a work of art. Actually, let me see. Let me look at my movie shelf for inspiration. I'm sure I have some other things on here that aren't that deep, but I love them with my whole heart.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Napoleon Dynamite. That is an excellent movie. Yeah. If you don't like Napoleon Dynamite, reevaluate your life choices. Like, my sister and I showed that movie to my mom once, and the whole time, she was just like, I don't get it. I'm like, there's nothing to get. It's stupid. Laugh and move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't think too hard.
Yeah. Yeah, anything else? You got anything else?
Probably. We gotta start, not that we have trouble finding time to even record, but, like, we gotta start doing this in the day, because I come home and I'm just like, it's not all here. For audio listeners, I was pointing to my empty head.
Head empty, no thoughts.
No thoughts, smooth brain.
Story of my life, honestly. Oh, I think the first X-Files movie is kind of a cinematic masterpiece. Especially just because it was, like, at the height of the whole X-Files mania of the 90s. And so, like, the entire thing as a movie, it's just peak 1995. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I really feel like that's one of the only ways I can describe that film. It is just the absolute height of the 90s. So yeah, those are some of my film hot takes for this evening.
Do you have any cinematic disasters?
What would a cinematic disaster
be? Dumpster fire.
by like the metric that we're using for what defines, like, cinematic masterpiece. Because we're talking right now about, like,
just the perfect, like, sequencing of just everything. Like perfect package.
Fun movies. So I would the opposite be like a movie that like should be like, you know, should have a lot of gravitas but just doesn't land
Mm-hmm.
and feels really like
Yeah.
superficial? Because I got an answer for
Yes.
that. I had to watch
What?
this for an online journalism class. The Post.
The Post. I've not seen that.
It's about like it's about the Washington Post like uh publishing like classified documents, I think in relation to like the Vietnam War or something. But the whole thing to me, like it was very like Oscar bait-y. Like it had and it like the cast, like it was like Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep, like the whole thing felt like, okay, we'll pick like a serious topic, and as long as we throw in like, you know, Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, like we're guaranteed to produce this like really hard hitting like movie that's gonna resonate with everyone. But I just like
Hmm.
didn't care. Like they wanted to have this huge emotional impact, but they didn't do any
Mm-hmm.
of the work for it.
I think that's like a common technique. Like you just get like, you know, a superstar cast and I don't know, if the writing doesn't live up to it, you know, you can have any cast you want. It's not gonna be
Yeah, so I guess our opposite to cinematic masterpiece here would just be like Oscar bait.
mm, yeah.
At least, you know, based on the way we're defining cinematic masterpiece.
You know, I guess one for me. Have you ever watched The Shape of Water?
I
It was
love
not.
that movie so
I'm sorry. It
much.
was not for me. All right. Well, I guess we disagree on that.
I adore that movie so very, very much. And I understand why people cannot fucking stand it.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the whole thing about it for me is like just these two people finding somebody who like finding the only person who really understands them.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
See, like, I understand where it was coming from. I understood the messages. I just like it didn't land for me. Like it didn't hit home. And like,
Okay, that's
I
entirely
don't know.
fair. I
Like
love
for me,
it.
that's an equation. Like it should be a cinematic masterpiece, but like for me, I don't consider it one.
Okay, fair. I'll allow it.
But that's not saying like that's not saying though it's a bad movie. Like because I classify a bad movie as just something I didn't like. To me, it doesn't equal that equation of just being a cinematic masterpiece.
I absolutely loved the memes like after The Shape of Water cleaned up at the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was absolutely
That
hilarious.
was a good
The
time.
way like people were just tweeting like, "Wow, that fish fucking movie is just really gonna go do that, huh?" Beautiful. Absolutely love that movie so much. It's so good.
Sorry if that was
Oh
an
no.
attack.
A decent part of this podcast is just like me getting roasted, and I have made my peace with it. I'm trying to think of any other movies that were like kind of like Oscar baity. Like there was that one. Oh, like Green Book, which like won Best Picture, which was like embarrassing, but like yeah, just the whole like kind of like white saviory type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not a fan. Not a fan at all. Yeah, any other cinematic disasters come to mind?
No, no. And you know, I'm thinking about Shape of Water. That's not a cinematic disaster. That's more of like a cinematic like fumble. Like not. Not dumpster fire.
I'll take it. I've had a harder time getting people to say nicer things about the things that I like, so I will absolutely take it.
I'm definitely going to remember more dumpster fires once we end this podcast, because that's when I remember everything about my likes and dislikes and just everything about myself when I'm not asked them.
I don't know what it is. There's a French phrase that translates to, like, the wit of the stairwell, which just means, like, those things you come up with after an argument that you should have said, like, that would have been really good comebacks.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we both experience our own sort of, like, podcast version of that, where as soon as the podcast ends, we're both just like, oh, this would have been a great answer, or, like, this would have been a great thing to talk about.
We need to have an after podcast where we're just, like, random. I'm just envisioning
the podcast
random
after party.
moments. We're in the supermarket. Oh, I should have said that. No, not in the shower, but just the odd places where you'd remember things.
Yeah, and just like you just be cooking and you're like, oh. You remember what you should have said as you make your, like, you know, boxed mac and cheese.
Pikachu meme.
Oh, I love the surprised Pikachu meme. Oh, Detective Pikachu, there's another cinematic masterpiece for you.
Still have not seen it.
I will never tire of that movie. It is so much fun, and I would die for CGI Bulbasaur. That sweet little cabbage boy.
Oh my god.
I love him. Okay. What do you say? You think we call it?
I'm calling it.
Okay. Seems
and
fair.
Break.
Yeah, someday we're just gonna, like, we're not even gonna say anything when just the episode just ends.
We're just gonna hang up on you.
Yeah, we'll just hang up on you. Complete silence. But today is not that day.
I guess we'll do a proper goodbye.
I guess. So yeah, we'll try and, like, actually get the whole stream planning thing sorted, not in real time, and
yeah, we
tell
won't
you in advance
can do our planning
when that's happening. So, probably slightly sooner than June, knowing what we know now. Thanks, Netflix. And yeah, really, I guess that's the only thing to look out for, other than, you know, our weekly episodes. You got anything else, or?
Thanks for watching our word dumpster fire. Just kidding.
Yes, of course.
Now that word is stuck in my head.
We do appreciate everyone who watches, so thank you, and we will see you next week. Bye!
Bye!
This week's episode of the Fighting with Friends podcast was hosted by Bridget Kelly and Maddie Robbins. You can find other episodes of the podcast on Acast, Deezer, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at BridgetKelly98 and at MR5MAR. Rate and review us on your podcatcher of choice. Like, comment, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch, and join our Discord community using the links in the description. You can also help support us via the Acast supporter feature. Thanks for listening!